Okay, so my big idea, I was very intrigued with the New Zealand Earth Hour, you know, where you turn your lights off for Earth Hour. Well, I think we could probably do it for gratitude. Maybe a minute, you know, like November the 11th, you know, the war one, or an hour, or turning our lights off. I think would be something that's worth doing. And I think, but that's not to ignore the disparities and those sort of things that go on in our community. But I think it's one thing that would make us flourish better is actually appreciate what we've got, because actually living in New Zealand is pretty damn good. So this is the Sonia Lyubomirsky's book, The How of Happiness. It's got a whole lot of techniques in it. It's a Penguin book, and it's very well read. It's sort of structured. It's got a whole lot of things, and the Gratitude Diary comes up as sort of number one. And I suspect all those things do very similar things. They give you a different perspective on life. They dissociate you from the negative. And allow you to get the positive ones. So that's all my talk. I would be very flattered if somebody would ask me some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Questions? Oh, yes, coming. I wish I had a centre aisle. That would have been handy. Maybe you could pass it along.
Thanks very much for that. I really enjoyed it. My work is with socially isolated older people, and one of the things that is just overwhelming is the epidemic of depression and anxiety amongst older people, which goes largely untreated, as if it's expected. And I'm really interested in what you said about the Gratitude Diary, because part of the challenge is about waking people to purposeful life again when they're expecting to just slide into death. You must work with people like this too. Have you got any extra pearls?
Well, I think loneliness is a big issue, and some way of getting people a bit more connected. I presume the people you're talking about, they are isolated, and some way of trying to break down that isolation, exercise groups or that sort of stuff, or perhaps talking to the general practice and seeing what resources they have. I guess you probably know of resources in the area. Church groups can be quite good for those sort of things. There are an amazing number of resources around if you can motivate the person. Are these people depressed? Yeah. Exercise is probably, I think exercising, I find, in fact I say to patients who are depressed, you won't feel like exercising. If you don't, you probably won't get better. I really put it to people. Now, I've got a relationship with these people. You might say that's taking a bit of a risk, because if they fail, it might be worse. But I take those risks because I think it's so important. And people are usually better if they start exercising. If you can get those old people doing anything, there's a social component to it, and I think there's a physiological component to it as well. And getting out in the midday sun is probably another thing. Getting a few lux into your brain, I think, helps.
Hey Bruce, it's Boris Sokratov. Really insightful presentation. I'm very interested in the Gratitude Diaries. As a tool, do you know whether GPs are aware of it?
I don't think so. I've just started talking about it. I'm talking at a GP conference in July. That'll probably be the first time. I'm doing a randomised trial out of my office at the moment on Gratitude Diaries in primary care. Actually just with our patients, because we've got enough to do it over 2 years, interestingly. So these are people with mild to severe depression. Yeah. No, I don't think they do. I did talk about it a couple of years ago at the college conference, and I had about 50 people, and I thought they'd think I'd gone off the deep end, you know. But actually there was a lot of interest, so I suspect my colleagues are ripe for the picking.
Yeah, and I'd suggest to you, I don't know whether you know how much I'm involved with the Nutters Club, but I'm certainly going to push it big time, because it's such a simple idea that will resonate very, very easily, using very simple language, and I think that's a great way forward. So thank you for
and I think as Lyubomirsky says, it is the mega strategy. It does seem to do. I've used it with I had a 19-year-old boy who was very depressed the other day, and I got him a gratitude. Actually, he got randomised to the gratitude arm, thank God. And I phoned him up and I said, "What do you think of the gratitude?" He said, "That was fantastic." You know, he was just looking at what he didn't have fighting with his parents and all sorts of stuff, and bam, his PHQ went from 20 to 6, which is massive, made serious depression to normal in the space of a week. I mean, he may not have had a depression, obviously, but just a massive, and that's very reinforcing to have that sort of experience. Keeps me going. Yeah, talk about it as much as you can, and there's lots of evidence. If you want the slides, I'd be happy to send them to you, Boris.
Yeah, thank you. Brian here again from Christchurch, and I do have a lot to say when I come to these things. So there's over 150 GPs in Christchurch, and we know of about 14 that are depression friendly.
Yep.
What's the strategy to get GPs, because they're our first port of call for people with depression, to educate GPs around
Pegasus
depression?
is a very strong PHO there. Talk to people like Dee Mangan Dee Mangan's doing some fantastic research on depression. She's very, she's an international researcher, so I would talk to her about how to best get that. I suspect there'll be more than 14 GPs interested, but you'll find the interest will be building up. In ProCare in Auckland, we're getting rooms with this many people in it coming to evenings about depression, which you wouldn't have seen that 20 years ago, You would have seen 3 people, So there's a real change out there, I think. As I say, I think New Zealand's become psychologically mature in the last 25 years. There's been a lot happening.
Kia ora, my name is Kay Jones. I'm with the Council of Trade Unions, Te Kawakamahi. Another of the circles I mix with is the Interfaith Council. And, thank you for presenting that. And I was reflecting that how much this sounds like people giving daily prayers.
Yes.
And that you mentioned church has been one of the ways of sort of supporting sort of some of the older folk. And I think that may be something that,
yes.
In New Zealand we've got, we're a sectarian society and people feel almost embarrassed about raising the spirituality part of it. And with the Wairua and the whole sort of cultural thing, I think it is worth, re-emphasising that.
I mean, if you're Catholic, you'll understand the 3 blessings. Interesting on the meditation thing, I had a woman who was a very staunch Catholic, and she said, well, I'm Catholic, I'm not sure I can do something from the Buddhist tradition. So I had to say, well, actually, this has come from the Buddhist tradition, but actually it's now a psychological technique. So sometimes we have to demythologize it. It's not a religious technique, it's a psychological technique. And funnily enough, she had the best reaction. She went off and had the 30 minutes, and she came back. She's a woman who has recurrent depression, postnatal depression, all that sort of stuff. She came back just glowing. So of all the, so it's funny, her resistance actually, when she got over it, was actually very powerful.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm a mental health promoter on the West Coast. I have a query about the sort of the happiness thing. It always strikes me that we're kind of sold this idea that we have to be happy all the time. So where's the bit about living healthily within our whole range of emotions, that the sort of always trying to be constantly happy is actually making us more unhappy because we always feel like we're always failing?
Expectations are too high, yeah. Well, it's that thing, if our brain, I heard a thing about, we could have perfect memory if our brains were like computers. I mean, computers don't make mistakes in terms of like names and addresses. If they're put in correctly, the price we would pay, we would have no love and poetry. So I guess we have to be a bit careful not to have love and poetry, and I think it is a balance in that sort of sense. And I agree with you then. I think your perspective is good.
Ingrid Bergman said that happiness is nothing more than good health and a bad memory.
This man's full of quotes, isn't he?
There's no more burning questions. If there are, please write them down on your post-its and post them on the in the frame over here. Thank you very much. Bruce, I would like us to show our appreciation for Bruce coming this morning.